Hello, beautiful ones. Dr. Nikki here. I thought I would come on today and talk to you a little bit more about meditation, mindfulness, and some of the other internal practices that I'm often sharing around the place. I often get asked by people, what's the secret? Because, quite often one of the biggest challenges is to be able to control the mind, to be able to stop what they call in the Vedas, the vrittis, so the fluctuations in the mind. And, it's no surprise at all because, we are so inundated with anything and everything these days in our modern world that, to be able to just unplug and switch off like that would be really difficult for most of us. And I attest as well, without the practice that I put in, it was really difficult for me, at first to be able to meditate as well. And so, it's like anything, it's a practice. And, for as little as 5 minutes a day, you will really start to see some big shifts with your internal environment. And then from your internal environment, you start to see the world around you change too. And so I often recommend for people to start with 5 minutes. Try to make the commitment for each day. 5 minutes really isn't a long time, no matter how busy we are. If you really want to create change in your life, I don't think 5 minutes really is a difficult amount of time to achieve, particularly in the beginning. And a really good way to get distracted by the time is to set a clock for 5 minutes. If you have a space that you'd like to set up for a meditation space, feel more than welcome to create something like that. And, sometimes as well, having a set time and a set space will become to make the practice easier because it sets up that pattern not only within your own internal environment, but it also sets the energy within that environment in that external space as well. If you choose that to be the space where you will do, meditation and reflective practice. It's not necessary though. You can really do it anywhere and everywhere, out in your garden, in your car, in the car park before you go into work. Not while you're driving, of course, but, really just choosing any way that you can start to incorporate the practices. And, once you start to feel the differences, it makes it much easier to keep going with it as well, because you really start to see such dramatic changes, particularly over time. And so for this first video, I wanted to focus on stillness and finding stillness. And so, once we have our time and our space set, it's about coming to the breath. So the breath for me is a key place to hold focus, because not only is it something we carry around with us all the time, it is automated and it just happens anyway within our body. But it is also directly related to the nervous system. But I'm going to touch on that a little bit more in the next video. So when you find yourself a comfortable position, so any way that you're going to be comfortable, so we're not distracted by aches and pains and things like that. So finding yourself a comfortable position. Sometimes people like to do things laying down, but if you've got a tendency to fall asleep, I don't really recommend doing it. And, we're only aiming for 5 minutes at first. And so, finding yourself a comfortable seat is probably the best way to go about it, particularly in the beginning. And then once you're comfortable, you close down your eyes. And as you take that opportunity to close your eyes, bringing your awareness onto your breath. And you simply start by noticing as you breathe in, and then noticing as you breathe out. And as you continue to follow the breath, beginning to slow down the breath if you can. This helps you to relax. And as you continue to breathe in and know that you're breathing out, also noticing if your mind starts to wander. And particularly at first, 5 minutes will seem like a really long time because the ego thinking mind is so used to being in control that as we start to release that overthinking, you'll find that it can often jump back in a little bit more strongly. So just to be aware of that and not to give up, because it is perfectly normal for the thinking mind to do what it does, and that's think. And again, just remembering it's a practice. And so we're just breathing in and breathing out. And then starting to notice how that feels. So feeling into how that in-breath feels. And then feeling how that out-breath feels. And so try not to create any stories off that. We're just simply observing any sensations that arise as you breathe in and how that might feel different as you breathe out. You might notice the feeling in your nostrils. You might notice the feeling in your torso around your chest. And as the breath slows down, we can start to try and draw that breath a little bit deeper. Starting to find more of a fuller breath. And this also helps the body to relax. And as your body relaxes, your mind also relaxes. And then it makes it even easier to find that still space. Remembering just to be very patient with yourself, allow whatever to arise and to move through your awareness. This is also part of the practice. Some days you will find it a lot easier than others as well, and this is all perfectly normal. There is nothing wrong with you if your mind thinks all the time, because that's exactly what it does. And to, create a different way within your mind, it just takes practice. And so just continuing with that gentle, steady breath. Another nice tool you might like to incorporate to help keep you in the moment and your awareness present and not running off on the thought train is to take the thumb and forefinger of one hand and join that together as you take a nice long deep breath in and a slow steady breath out. Please feel free to practice with me if you have not already. And then moving the thumb onto the middle finger of that same hand, and again breathing in and breathing out. And then moving the thumb onto the ring finger of that first hand. And again, feeling into that in-breath and the out-breath. And then moving the thumb onto the small finger. And again, breathing in and breathing out. And then moving onto your second hand and joining the thumb and the small finger of your second hand and breathing in and breathing out. And then moving the thumb onto the ring finger of that second hand, again, repeating that same breath. And then moving the thumb to the middle finger, remembering there is no rush, and allowing yourself to experience that full breathing, if you can. And then moving the thumb onto the index finger of that second hand, and again, breathing in, really allowing yourself to enjoy that space that gets created by the simple act of breathing consciously. And then we're going to start to move back in the opposite direction. So on that second hand, the thumb and the middle finger join together, and again, another round of breath. And then the thumb and the ring finger of that second hand. Again, really allowing yourself to be with that breath. And then moving the thumb onto the small finger. And of course, doing this at your own time, in your own pace, remembering there is no rush. And then moving back to that first hand again, the thumb and the small finger. And breathing in. And breathing out. And then moving the thumb onto that ring finger. And again, another round of gentle, deep, steady breath. And then moving the thumb onto the middle finger of that first hand. And we're nearly back at the beginning now. And you might notice how different you're feeling, particularly with practice. And then moving the thumb back to that first index finger, back to the beginning, and another nice long breath all the way to the bottom of the lungs, if you can find that space now as you're more relaxed. And releasing that breath. And then before you bring yourself back, just taking another moment to check in with how you're feeling into that breath. Noticing that breath maybe a little easier. Resting the mind should also be a little easier. Knowing that this space is always here. We take a couple of moments to pause and breathe consciously. Being in the moment is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to ourselves, if only for a few minutes at a time. But that space to be able to unplug and to be present with the here and now, to be present with the self, to be present with our loved ones around us. And as you take another nice long deep breath in, and on the out breath, starting to bring some gentle movements back, wiggling your fingers and toes. And whenever you're ready, you can open up your eyes. And so this is a really simple, strategically simple practice. It's only the breath. I totally understand that it is not as simple to control the mind, particularly, when we've never done a breath practice before. So it's like riding a bike. Very few people would just be able to jump on a bike and ride. And so, really allow yourself the time and the space, and you will start to notice some huge differences. Anyway, as always, reach out if you got any questions. Mwah. Have a great day or night. Bye.